It says we're live, and we are doing it live. Hey, welcome in, everyone. 2020 is almost here. Well, it's New Year's Eve. Everyone be safe out there. But Bloom, we got to talk coaching carousel across the National Football League, and this is going to be the first of probably two, maybe even three shows this year, Bloom.
Yeah, well, 2020 New Year's resolutions, right? Let's just hang out more. Let's hang out more with each other. Let's hang out more with our people and talk about football because, it's 365, 24/7. We've been lucky and kind of part of riding this wave of football becoming a year-round news cycle. In February, it's the combine. In March, it's free agency. In April, it's the draft. Even May and June give us OTAs and little things and third wave, fourth wave. Hey, see some of those third wave free agency pickups this year, like Jamie Collins. There's not really a time on the NFL calendar that is not important.
No, and let's get right to it. Now, Ian Rappaport is reporting already that Ron Rivera has been hired by Washington. Okay. Worst kept secret in the league. We knew it was going to happen eventually. Adam Schefter also reporting, not that he says soon to be, whatever. Ron Rivera is the coach of Washington. And JDR, Jack Del Rio, grinding against chunky interns out at the Senior Bowl. Now did I reveal it too much? Yeah. Now has a job again as DC, most likely, for Washington. Let's talk.
Yeah, look, Ron Rivera and Cecil, I wonder if the pendulum is swinging back a little bit on looking at what's out there. It's like the devil you know and the devil you don't know. And the devil you don't know in terms of how much things can fall off. I mean, how many first-year head coaches have we seen fired the last year or two? Kitchens is out with Steve Wilkes last year.
Steve Wilkes, yep. Mm-hmm.
So that arguably sets your franchise back more. Of course, the teams are looking at the Steelers. They're looking at Sean McDermott. They're looking at Kyle Shanahan. They're thinking about continuity. And Ron Rivera, while he wasn't a smashing success as a head coach, of course, you covered the Super Bowl that he was in that was a laugher. He wasn't a failure either. And to be fair, the Panthers, the quarterback play, I guess only the Steelers probably had worse quarterback play this year than the Panthers once Cam Newton went down. And I think people in these positions now are looking at head coaches first and foremost and see it's the part that's not as visible for us, the leaders of men. The Panthers were on that Amazon show and you got to see, he's got their attention. They pull in the same direction and you're going to have that respect. You're also going to have something kind of predictable for Washington, and they got rid of Bruce Allen. Isn't that the real headline here? We're burying the lead, right? Like of all the ding dong, the wish is dead storylines, this is the biggest. Weight lifted. So you look at Jack Del Rio, he's going to get Montez Sweat and Chase Young, and Brian Kerrigan, I think, is due like 11, 12 million. I keep him around to mentor them or whatever, but wow, talk about some pinchers. Of course, they've got Payne and Allen on the inside. They have to rebuild their secondary. Although Quentin Dunbar's pretty good, but then the other side of the ball, they've got Haskins. They've got wide receivers all of a sudden, McLaurin and Sims. They've got a running game. Hopefully, pray Darius Geis can stay together for 1 year.
They've got a Stanford running back behind them that
Bryce Love.
We'll get to on Snorkel Scuba Submarine.
Very good. You're getting really good at that. So that's hope. I mean, I'd rather be a Washington fan than a Jets fan or a Cleveland fan or Jacksonville. We'll get to that. We'll get to all, but we won't get to the Jets. I know a lot of Jets fans wish we were. So, I mean, this is looking good. And as we could see this year, the NFC East is totally there for the taking. I mean, the Washington was in first place last year before Alex Smith got hurt. So it's there for the taking. Everything's looking up. We're actually going to have an optimistic offseason under Ron Rivera. And I think that under Ron Rivera, what it signifies to me is no big changes. You're not shaking everything up. We're not going to revolutionize everything. We're just going to get to work.
And Washington's got some interesting pieces. Bloom, they get rid of Bruce Allen. Now it's just like, when would they get rid of Dan Snyder? That's what's holding it back.
On that topic, Cecil, and we only got about 25 minutes. I don't want to take up too much on this. I think that one of the things that we're seeing now as as we've been doing this together now for 14 years, 3 decades, spanning 3 decades, is as of tonight. Fans are getting smarter and smarter and smarter, right? Like, we obsessed about everything. That's what is our bond, right? You obsess about, or you can talk about the draft for 3 hours and still not run out of gas. I can do that too. Let's do a show. I think we've been getting around to coordinators matter. And certainly as we get through episode 2, episode 3, or further in the show, we'll talk about some coordinator changes. And remember, one of the most important changes for fantasy football last year was on a team that didn't turn over their head coach, although John Harbaugh was perceived to be on the hot seat for a little bit last year. It was putting Greg Roman in as offensive coordinator. Like, Lamar Jackson was the fantasy MVP. And that was the move that tipped you off. Hey, there might be something here. Dalvin Cook, Dennison, and Kubiak. Hey, there might be something here. Coordinators matter. I think folks now are waking up to the idea that ownership matters, and not always in a good way.
Carolina, let's hopefully they get things turned around. But anyway, let's talk about Freddie Kitchens, right? And so much to get to. Again, this is the first show. We're going to do about 20 minutes today. But Freddie Kitchens fired from the Browns, and now they're kind of reaching out, looking everywhere to replace him, and we'll try to get Baker, the baby maker, back on the right track.
Yeah, and there was some real interesting stuff here, Cease, from Charles Robinson. And
must follow, by the way.
I mean, okay, so Cease, it's like Jay Glazer and Charles Robinson, right? Like, they don't pop up all that often. They're not like Schefter and Rappaport, and every week they're stringing out all kinds of stuff. But when they do pop up, you listen. You know, Charles Robinson is, I almost want to say, I don't want to make enemies. Like, he's like the anti-Mike Silver, you know? Like,
Charles Robinson is really good at his job. He's got a really filthy mouth, which I love Charles for, hanging out, having pulled pops with him on the road trips. Like, yeah, he's a great dude. Great dude, works hard, and when he says something, you listen, because it is not hype.
Yeah, he's not no agenda. He's got no axes to grind. He's not carrying water for any agents or anything. He's just a reporter. And he brought up that Kevin Stefanski was somebody that the Browns were interested in. Maybe something about the analytics. I don't really understand where analytics come into head coaching. Maybe just the Vikings' offensive performances. Again, I guess the story is this: every time that the Jimmy Haslam Browns, ownership matters, have been at a fork in the road, the reports we get from the outside are there's disagreement. There's a tug of war, right? Also, you have John DePodesta and John Dorsey. So this is kind of a situation he described like the Chip Kelly, Howie Roseman situation, right? Howie Roseman took a step back during the Chip Kelly era, but was still there. Now, is there some shift in the power there? So many questions. Alignment. There has to be organizational clarity and alignment here. And the other thing we're seeing, of course, is like Matt Rule and us. Thanks, no thanks. I'll interview with the Giants. I'll interview with the Panthers, but thanks, no thanks on the Browns job, which just shows where it is and see if we can get into like ranking these jobs and what's the most attractive and so on. So it almost feels like before they hire a head coach, they have to straighten out their organizational chart and process of hiring a head coach. And when Jimmy Haslam realizes it's better for him to step back, all of this will get better.
Yeah, and that's, again, kind of a common theme around the National Football League. You mentioned the Giants opening. That's because Pat Shurmur doesn't have a job anymore and now has failed twice as a head coach with the Browns and with the Giants. And the Giants are looking a little bit everywhere. Eric Bieniemy's getting some interest, Bloom, and I love EB, but somebody's going to get a pretty fiery leader if they go with EB. And by the way, just on a side note, before we get to Pat Shurmur and the Giants, Bieniemy has taken noted steps to like maintain his calmness, like maintain and be very calm and even keeled, to be more head coach like. And well, it might pay off for him this year, maybe with the Giants.
Maybe. This is,
we got Mike McCarthy floating out there like a satellite, right?
Yeah.
He's even there, and then he's still there.
And, Marvin Lewis is out there. I know he was being discussed with the Washington job. Maybe he didn't do as bad a job as we thought. I guess with the Giants, the biggest thing to unpack here is Dave Gettleman is still there. And then there was talk about, so another thing I saw that didn't seem right to me was this idea of, well, we'll keep the GM if the new head coach wants that GM, but if they don't, we won't. That does. I mean, folks brought up, well, Kyle Shanahan got to pick his GM, right, and things like that, but not a new head coach, not a brand new head coach. Again, especially if you're getting Baylor's coach, you're getting your first jump up from. I mean, is hiring and firing the GM is not part of the duties of the head coach. So Gettleman's still there, and I think they're trying to put lipstick on a pig here with Gettleman. And I can't say that Gettleman's been a failure. Honestly, we look back at the Beckham trade. Doesn't look bad. And Wink Martindale, by the way, interesting combination here. Wink Martindale and Joe Brady, not going to Cincinnati, Brady with Burrow, but maybe going along with Wink Martindale. And what you like about that idea as a package is a great division, right? I mean, you really want, ideally, a head coach that's going to take the weight for in-game decisions and organizational stuff, but not a head coach who's going to be micromanaging on both sides of the ball. You want a head coach that's going to be involved on one side of the ball and then delegate and trust on the other side of the ball. So the idea of a package is interesting here. I mean, you could say, are we getting too fast, cart ahead of the horse with Joe Brady just because of what Joe Burrow did this year? I mean, we'll see. So that's an interesting thing to ponder. But it's really about Gettleman, right? I mean, it's kind of like the Steve Keim being down in Arizona. Again, these lame duck GMs. Or does it signify a different power structure where the GM is reporting to the new head coach? The Giants got to figure that all out. They've got pieces. Daniel Jones, the wide receiver, Saquon Barkley.
Thanks to Gettleman, they got Daniel Jones because everyone panned him for that pick, and now nobody's saying that.
And you look at the Beckham trade, and the offense isn't suffering without Beckham because of that Darius Slayton pick, Gettleman. You've got, at each level of the defense now, you've got Dexter Lawrence. And we'll see about Leonard Williams, and that could be a trade that's panned, right? Let's see if they sign him to an extension. Let's see if they get a comp pick, et cetera, how he plays. They've got, I like Lorenzo Carter a lot. When the Wink Martindale's name came up season, I thought of Lorenzo Carter in a Baltimore-style defense. And the O'Shane Chimneys also. Senior Bowl, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then you got Jabril Peppers. I like that. Like thinking about Jabril Peppers as that deep safety to allow the blitz in the up front. I like that. So that's where we're at right now with all these coaching openings, is thinking about, here's a name that's come up. What would that signify? What could that harness in this team? So again, we're looking at the NFC East, and we, the only team that may not have a coaching change is the team that won. I mean, that's the kind of division it was this year. So hope springs eternal for the Giants, but it's going to be interesting to balance a new head coach and a new age turning the page, because Pat Shurmur just wasn't. There was no. When I heard that Pat Shurmur got fired, I thought, well, he didn't do anything to deserve to get fired openly, except maybe in-game management. But there's a lot of coaches that fumble in-game management, but he didn't do anything to keep the job either. He's kind of just vanilla.
He's milk toast.
Yeah. Jinx. Anyway.
Oh, your Coke. See you in Vegas here in a little bit. And sometimes this show is about who's gotten fired. Sometimes it's about who's not. Yeah. Now, as we record this on New Year's Eve at 9:20 Mountain Time, Jason Garrett still hasn't been, and they don't even have to let him go because his contract expired. We all expect Garrett to be, not retained, Bloom, correct?
Right. Well, if he is retained, I mean, he's.
Look at that. We started talking about the Cowboys and Bloom froze up. I was like, can't just be me, right? Not just me. Look at this now.
Now I'm back. I don't understand what happened.
But we have two of you.
We have two. Well, I fired myself and then rehired myself.
Okay. So dramatic pause. You did get, now everyone in the chat room is like, what happened? He got hit by Sub-Zero.
Yeah, fatality. Finish him.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is new.
Jason Garrett, finish him.
Yeah, exactly. But I was going to say, like, raising children, right? And you think about your actions and like the message that they send, right? So like, what message does it send to Jason Garrett if he's not fired? I mean, everything. There's been all this saber rattling. What have they made the playoffs? 3 out of the 9 years he's been the head coach. What do you have to do to get fired? no team underachieved more than the Cowboys. The thing that made, I think, Jerry Jones so disgusted. I love that shot of Boston Scott showing. By the way, Cecil, it was funny. Matt Waldman has been grinding RSP stuff. So I said, do you feel like a proud father after what Boston Scott did? And he said, what did he have a good game? Yeah, he had a pretty good game.
A little bit.
I sent him some of the tweets like, I'm naming my first, second, and third board son Boston in Philadelphia. So that shows you, you know. Anyway, because this Cowboys team, not with Jason Garrett coaching them, right? Like if you just had the coach not show up, like kidnap Jason Garrett, and then it's like Dak and Sean Lee are like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to coach the team on the field, make decisions. Chris Richard, by the way, another guy who could get some interviews. If this team just didn't have coaching to overcome, they could beat anybody in a one-game scenario. That's what's so disgusting if you're Jerry Jones. Philadelphia probably can't beat 10 out of the 12 teams in the playoffs in a one-game scenario. Dallas can, and they continually underachieve. So, as you said, it's not a question of firing Jason Garrett. His contract's going to expire. Maybe Jerry is waiting to hear about one of his top candidates, Lincoln Riley or Matt Rule or somebody like that. I don't know. Urban Meyer. It's hard to read this. It's hard to understand what's happening, which I guess means it's business as usual for the Cowboys.
Business as usual for the Jaguars, too, who aren't firing Doug Marrone.
Yeah. And Diana Rossini, I mean, it takes a while to earn like Jay Glazer, Charles Robinson kind of cred, but she had cred. I mean, she's not, I don't want to name names. She's not one of those people that we name as a joke. There are certain people that we say, there's even one now that if someone reports something, we're like, well, we know that's not going to happen, right? Diana Rossini was not one of those people, right?
No.
I mean, she was like on a level like Josina, like if you heard it from her, you knew it was probably coming from a good source. Someone said it was a family friend of Marrone. Now, I don't know if that report altered the course. I'm watching that show Dark on Netflix. Just finished up season 2. It's good. And it's about time traveling, It's almost like time travel, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's like by reporting that, did it alter the course of their decision? I don't know. In the background, Cease, I just keep coming back to this idea. I talked about this on the radio the other day with Jody Mack. So there's conspiracy. See, you'll like this, Cease. Have you heard of all the conspiracy theories about the Jags? Are you familiar with this at all?
No.
Oh, man. Because I got Eric Stoner always on my phone blowing it up. Love you, Eric. Happy New Year's, Jags fans, by the way, because who knows what the future is going to bring. There are conspiracy theories, Cecil. There are people looking up public records about deals that were made between like utility companies and the city of Jacksonville and things like that. There are people looking at real estate deals. They're trying to piece this all together. The London Jaguars, there's rumors and innuendo about Caldwell being kept because he's part of the transition. I have no idea if any of this is true. And I'm not putting it out there to be a rumor monger. I'm not putting it out there to be someone to spread conspiracy theories. I'm putting it out there because I think it indicates the mindset of the Jacksonville fan, right? Like you can believe anything, right? You could believe anything about what this team's going to do next because it doesn't seem like they're married to the city. It doesn't seem like they're married to a specific process. On the specific decision of Marrone, you could say, well, if Coughlin's the problem, let's just see if that's true because this team under Marrone has done okay. They reached, one of the peaks of the franchise. But it's surrounded by this feeling of dread in the fan base. And Jaguars Twitter, I know that they hate you sometimes, but there's a lot of passionate fans. And in some ways, to be a passionate fan of that team or of the Lions or of Washington or of Cleveland, it hones some of the sharpest football minds I know are fans of those teams because you don't get any satisfaction or joy out of rooting for your team. And I think that whatever is going on with the Jags, the fact that there's all these rumors, they're getting fired, they're not getting fired, they haven't decided yet, they're going to have a meeting, just shows the state of this franchise. And I hope, Gardner Minshew, that's the crazy thing. Again, they had a great draft. Taylor, the second round pick, didn't miss a game, didn't miss a play. Josh Allen is a revelation. They owe John Gruden a fruit basket for that one. Gardner Minshew, whatever goes on. He was an amazing 6th-round pick. I mean, one of the best 6th-round picks since like Tom Brady, right? So there's reasons to feel good, but the second half of the year, they were the worst team in the league. So I don't know how you keep the team, do you put that all on Coughlin? So I'm sorry, Jags fans. I guess in conclusion, all I can do is just draw a question mark,
Yeah, big question mark by Jacksonville, as we will have more of these coaching carousel shows and more shows where we just get to hang out, Bloom.
Yeah.
And see the fellas and the ladies and just talk some football. But before we go, Chad O'Shea was fired. And guess what?
Yep.
Chan Gailey.
He's back.
Fired. He is back. And he's back with the Dolphins, who definitely showed their culture building. We don't do a week 17 recap, but if we did, it'd be a lot of glasses raised for the Miami Dolphins.
Yes. And we've had a lot of fun times with Chan Gailey on this show, right? I mean, he was the guy, my metaphor was, he was the guy that's like, whatever's in your cabinets, in your refrigerator, if you need him to make dinner, he can make something you can eat. It might not be good, it might not be healthy, but you can hold it down, right?
He's like the B version of MacGyver. You know what I mean? Where MacGyver could get a gum wrapper. It's like the MacGyver stoner, where it's like, all I need is a gum wrapper, an apple, and I can make it into a bong.
Exactly.
Chan Gailey's like that guy.
Exactly. And it goes back to like Tyler Thigpen, right? Chan Gailey and
Cordell Stewart.
Yeah. Chan Gailey made some good offenses with Ryan Fitzpatrick with the Jets. Remember that? That wasn't that long ago. Now, I don't know if that signifies that Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to stay, but why wouldn't you want to continue on this path while you're developing a quarterback, or maybe even kicking the quarterback decision forward to 2021? Because Brian Flores, a la Sean McDermott, a la Kyle Shanahan, he has been given, I think, a 3 to 5 year blank check. We're not going to judge you until the end of year 3, basically. So you don't have to feel urgency to get a quarterback this year. In fact, Miami might be that point where someone trades up. You have the Lions and the Giants, because Dave Gettleman's not going to trade down. So we'll see about the Lions. Anyway, Chan Gailey in Miami. Now, of course, the other speculation here sees it all fits together. All the pieces are connected. Josh McDaniels. And what a year to hire Josh McDaniels. Really, this is the year hire Josh McDaniels coming off of this. Regardless, if there's going to be an opening for an offensive coordinator in New England, Chad O'Shea knows, he knows all the emergency exits in the building. He knows where all the light switches are. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
It makes sense, kind of. I don't know. So it's like we're finding all the pieces of the jigsaw puzzle. We haven't started putting them together into pictures quite yet, but it's great because we have the playoffs, we have the college football playoff, we have, of course, all kinds of things. Ryan Pace immediately takes the mic away from the Jags. The Jags were the news in the morning. Then Ryan Pace is like, Mitchell Trubisky is our quarterback for 2020, and so on. So all these things to look forward to now. There's going to be trades. There's more every year, and also who knows when they're going to happen. So it's exciting, man. It's exciting to get to do what we do. It's exciting to have a great audience like the one we have, people showing up just randomly. So folks, it's great to spend time with you. It's great to spend time with Cecil, and there's always something to talk about.
Yes, and we will do a wild card playoff preview Friday. Yeah, Friday. Sounds good. Friday. Make it happen. That's what we do on this show. And that is a wrap for part 1 of our coaching carousel shows. We'll be back with more as more happens across the National Football League. Not going anywhere, being right here with you in this journey that is called the NFL. He's Sigmund. I'm Cecil. We're the Audible. Stay tuned and stay frosty.